Hey there, spectral seekers and web wanderers. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Alan, and no, I'm not an artificially intelligent voice. In fact, I'm barely intelligent. But I am the story behind the shadows. If you're new here, we dive deep into the mysterious realms of the supernatural, unearthing the most spine-tingling tales from the corners of the internet. Today, we've got something exceptionally chilling for you. So sit back, relax, and try not to soil yourself. Seated by a Ghost, submitted by Ferdo in Reddit Ghost Stories. This was not scary, but was weird. So lifelike that we did not notice until well after the incident. We have dinner with two other couples once a month at different restaurants each time. For this dinner we picked a tavern that was on a site dating back to the late 1600s. Obviously the building there now is much newer, but it's built on the original foundation and was made to look like its 1770s version, when it is claimed that George Washington had stayed there. There are rumours that the building is haunted. We all got there early and were lounging in their bar area, when an older lady dressed in 1770s period clothing came in and offered to seat us in the dining room. She looked like any other person other than her hairstyle and clothing. We followed her to a large round table. She said she would return with silverware and menus. We sat there for quite a while and never saw her again. Eventually, one of the waitresses came over and asked if we were waiting for a reservation. We gave her our reservation name. Turned out that table was across the room and was empty, waiting for us. The waitress asked, "Why were you at this table?" We told her about the hostess in period dress who had seated us. By the way, all of the wait staff were wearing modern clothing. The waitress looked oddly at us and said they didn't have anybody working that night wearing period costume, and the table we were at was in the area that they were not using that night. But she was happy to serve us there, and the rest of the meal went normally. Not sure who seated us and if she was real or a ghost. She looked as solid as any normal person. By the way, we have been back a few times since, but nothing unusual happened, not even a weird feeling. The Figure in the Rear View by Alone Policy 2132. I'm 34. This happened to me and my brother when I was around 18 years old and he was 20. Take it or leave it, we both know it to be true. We drove home at about 11 p.m. one night after visiting a friend on the other side of town. We were sitting in my brother's car smoking a cigarette before we went inside. We lived in an old weatherboard house with a straight driveway, about 15 metres long. Across the other side of the road, from our driveway, a 10-foot high brick fence had been freshly painted white, glaringly bright. The street we lived on was well lit, and we lived right next door to a Woolworths parking lot. As we sat there smoking, my brother says to me, "Take a look in the rear view." I grabbed a mirror and turned it towards myself. Standing directly behind the car, just off the boundary of our driveway, was a solid black figure, perfectly contrasted against a white brick fence on the other side of the road. The figure looked to be a female with a jacket on and her hair looked wet. I turned around to look at the figure and there was nothing there. I spun back around and the figure was still standing there in the mirror, faced directly towards us. I span around again to look with my own eyes and once again there was nothing there. I turned for a final time back to the mirror and the solid black figure was still standing there, pointing directly at us, not 15 metres away. At this point, every hair on my body stood on end and my mind went into a state of complete confusion, disbelief and non-acceptance. I jumped out of the car and ran to the spot where the figure should have been. I ran to the fence that is shared with the car park. The car park was empty. Nothing was on the street. Prior to my brother telling me to look, he had already done this triple take himself. It took me a long time to look at mirrors in the same way again, and this experience totally changed my perception of what we think we know about our existence. I'm thankful for it. Odd Evening by Creative Advisor 337. I'm not sure if this is a ghost story or just an odd thing which happened. I was following a city cycle route tonight. It was just starting to get dark and the sat-nav on my bike took me to a cycle path covered by trees and bushes either side. I got a bad feeling, which I attributed to the darkness creeping in and the alleyway-style cycle path. Anyway, I stupidly thought if I cycle fast I'll get out the other side quickly rather than find another way. Cycling along I spot two bikes coming towards me. A very distinctive looking man and a girl approximately early 20s with dark hair cycling close behind him. He said hello as we had slowed to let each other pass safely. The girl just looked ahead, but she made me uneasy, which was absurd as she seemed like a regular girl. Anyway, I continue along and hear a blood-curdling scream. I'm terrified but have to continue. I can't figure out where it came from. And then I pass two girls who look wasted, so it might be them. I'm cycling hard to get through this alley, and I slow once more to pass another guy on a bike, and what looks like the same girl from the first cyclist I passed, riding just behind him. I don't say hello or smile this time. This time she stares right at me with such a haunting smile. She holds the stare all the while until I pass. Coincidence or not, it was the strangest journey home. I cycled extremely fast after that encounter. And there you have it, Spectral Seekers, a series of true ghost stories straight from the eerie depths of Reddit. I don't know about you, but these chilling tales have certainly left a shiver running down my spine. Thank you so much for joining us on this spectral journey. If you've got your own hair-raising tales to tell, don't hesitate to share them in the comments below. And who knows, your story might even make it in our next episode. If you enjoyed tonight's haunting expedition, show your support by giving this video a big thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next paranormal adventure.